I added Rusty's racing team to F1 and simulated 10 years to see where they would end up. Before we get started, if you are new here and could take the time to subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. According to YouTube's analytics, 100% of my viewers unsubscribe. So if we could change that, hit the subscribe button below and let's get on to the video. One of the most popular film franchises within motorsport fans has to be the Cars film. So I decided to take the most popular character, being Lightning McQueen, and added him to Formula 1. So we couldn't just drive for any team, I couldn't just stick him at Williams or something. I had to add his team, Rusty's. He managed to win 7 Piston Cups with them, and he just has to be the same. So I loaded up a new MyTeam save, changed all the development settings to automatic, and created this new team. Of course, for the main driver, it will be number 95, Lightning McQueen. But how about the other details? I had to then decide who would be Lightning's teammate, and what would the engine supplier be for our team. Now, I think there was only one main choice for the engine supplier, and it had to be Ferrari. I mean, it had to be. And as our second driver, I have decided to employ the former Ferrari driver, Felipe Massa. This will be the livery for the 10 seasons, heavily inspired by Lightning McQueen in the Cars films. But on that note, let's get into the simulation. Moving on into the first season then. Obviously, first season, this is the current F1 season, so all the drivers are going to be with their current teams. The first Constructors' Championship of this simulation is going to be won by Ferrari, beating Red Bull by just 8 points. The Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc also takes the Drivers' Championship. He managed to win 9 races throughout the season, with the Red Bull of Max Verstappen winning 8, with just 9 points behind Leclerc. George Russell manages to secure his first win in F1 as well as 3 others, with his teammate Lewis Hamilton winning only once. 8 fastest lap points went to Leclerc, 7 to Verstappen, 4 to Russell, 2 to Hamilton, and the Rusty's driver of Lightning McQueen actually managed to pick up 1 fastest lap point. Lightning McQueen managed to get P9 in the championship, with the other driver of Felipe Massa securing P11, helping the team reach P6 for their first Constructors finish. At the end of the season, there may be a small shake-up due to some regulation changes to the powertrain department. There was only one driver move at the end of the season, with Fernando Alonso finally retiring from Formula 1, aged 42. This opens up a seat in the Alpine for young F2 driver Robert Schwartzman to make his debut. Moving on into Season 2, and Ferrari really suffered from these regulation changes. This allowed Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship, with their young gun George Russell taking his first Drivers' Championship. He secured 10 wins this season, with all 3 sprint wins, as well as 7 fastest laps. Lewis Hamilton takes P2 with 7 wins and 4 fastest laps. The other young Brit of Lando Norris had a very strong season, by winning his first races in Formula 1, reaching P5 in the Drivers' Championship. Another midfield season for Rusty's, as Lightning secures another P9 and Massa another P11. This helped Rusty's beat Alpine in the Constructors to finish P5. Aston Martin had a strong showing this season, with Sebastian Vettel finishing P9 in the Drivers to help his team finish P6. No regulation changes are going to come into effect at the end of the season, however there were 2 driver retirements. These come in the form of Red Bull's Sergio Perez and Rusty's driver Felipe Massa. This strong season from Sebastian Vettel secured him a seat in the Rusty's team alongside Lightning McQueen. Esteban Ocon replaces the retiring Checo Perez in the Red Bull. This opens up a move for Valtteri Bottas to move to the Alpine. The current Haas driver of Kevin Magnussen moves into the vacant Alfa Romeo seat, with Zhou Guanyu moving the other way. This leaves open seats in the Aston Martin and Alfa Romeo, allowing F2 drivers of Oscar Piastri and Dan Ticktum to move into the Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin respectively. Due to the lack of regulation changes going into the third season, Mercedes and George Russell were able to take their second consecutive Constructors and Drivers' Championship. George Russell had a strong showing this season by taking 7 wins, the most of anyone this season. Lando Norris was close behind with 6 wins as he climbs up to P4 in the championship. Mercedes defend their Constructors' Championship by 190 points to McLaren, whereas Aston Martin struggled without their 4-time Sebastian Vettel as they finished plumb last in the standings. Rusty's take another P5 in the championship, solidifying their current place as leaders of the midfield pack. Leclerc manages 4 wins for P3, with Max and Lewis winning 2 races each. The Rusty's drivers score P9 and P11 again for the 3rd year in a row, with Lightning McQueen in P9 and the new driver Sebastian Vettel in P11. Once again, the team secured P5 in the Constructor standings behind the top 4 of Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari and Red Bull. A big shake-up will happen this year, as there are regulation changes to 3 out of the 4 departments. those being aerodynamics, chassis and durability. Due to this large change, the Rust-eze team are looking forward to the future and have signed the young Mick Schumacher to replace Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel will then step away from Formula 1, with Felipe Drugovich taking the open seat in the Haas. The regulation changes didn't have much of an effect when it comes to the Constructors' Championships, as the Silver Arrows of Mercedes win their third title in a row. However, George Russell was not able to replicate this, as Max Verstappen takes his first title of this simulation. Max won over half the races this season with 12, George Russell won half of that with 6, Lando Norris with half of that again with 3, and Charles Leclerc takes the last race win. All fastest laps went to the 4 drivers except 2 races where Daniel Ricciardo set the fastest lap once and Magnussen set the other. A very weak season from Rust-eze, scoring only 1 point allows a majority of teams to move up in the constructors, dropping from P5 to P10. Only Aston Martin finished below with 0 points. The only point was scored by Lightning McQueen as he finishes P16 in the championship, with his teammate Mick Schumacher finishing in P18 of 22. No regulation changes were in effect moving into Season 5, however there was another retirement in the McLaren driver of Daniel Ricciardo. This allowed the flying Finn of Valtteri Bottas to move to the Papaya team, opening a seat for Sebastian Vettel return to Formula 1 in the Alpine. After a poor season, Rust-eze drops Mick Schumacher and signs the former world champion of Jenson Button, in hopes of a stronger season next year. This means Mick Schumacher moves into the Aston Martin, making Dan Ticktum a free agent. Mercedes' domination of the Constructors' Championship continue as they win their 4th consecutive championship this simulation, with George Russell back on top. Russell managed to win 12 wins this season, replicating Max's form from the previous season. Charles Leclerc takes P2 in the Drivers' Championship after securing 5 wins as well as a sprint win and 4 fastest laps. Lando Norris in P3 took home 2 wins as well as 2 fastest lap points. Max Verstappen took the remaining 3 wins in the season as well as 2 fastest laps to secure P4 in the standings. Mercedes had a strong showing, beating Ferrari by 26 points, followed by McLaren 92 points behind Ferrari. Rust-eze had a stronger season this year, with Lightning McQueen securing P11 on 24 points as well as a fastest lap point. His teammate of Jenson Button finished P15 in the standings. This helped the team climb up to P7 in the Constructors. A small regulation change to the powertrain department will be in effect for the following year. 2 drivers have decided to retire at the season, those being the McLaren driver of Valtteri Bottas and the Rust-eze driver of Jenson Button. The opening in the McLaren allowed Robert Schwartzman to make his move away from Alpine, with the Frenchman of Pierre Gasly joining in the French team. This allowed Dan Ticktum to find another seat in F1 with AlphaTauri. Rust-eze signed Alex Albon to fill the seat that Button left as he retired, which allows former Rust-eze driver Mick Schumacher to move into the Williams. F2 driver of Jehan Daruvala earns his Formula 1 debut in the vacant Aston Martin. In Season 6, Ferrari managed to capitalise on the regulation changes as they managed to secure their 2nd Constructors' Championship of this simulation. This also allows the Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc to secure his 2nd championship after winning 9 races. Rust-eze managed to secure their first wins this season, with Lightning McQueen winning 4 races, with his teammate Alex Albon getting his maiden win with the team. Max Verstappen also secured 4 wins this season to reach P3 in the standings. The British drivers of George Russell and Lando Norris both won 2 races to finish P2 and P5. Ferrari beat out the Rust-eze team to win the Constructors by just over 100 points, as Rust-eze managed their highest finish since their creation. Lightning McQueen managed P4, just 14 points behind Verstappen. Alex had a strong first season with Rust-eze as he finished P6 in the standings. Aston Martin managed to gain a place in the Constructors as they finished above Williams, even though they both finished on 0 points as well as Haas. At the end of the season, there will be some regulation changes, but this time to the aerodynamics and the chassis departments. 2 more drivers retired at the end of the season, with the 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton finally hanging up his boot. This allows Lando Norris to move into the Mercedes, with the Japanese Yuki Tsunoda moving into the McLaren. This opens a seat in the AlphaTauri, which allows the young French driver Theo Pourchaire to make his Formula 1 debut. The reigning champion of Charles Leclerc also decided to retire after winning his 2nd title. This allowed Pierre Gasly to finally get a drive capable of winning races in the Ferrari. The open seat in the Alpine is then taken by F2 driver Yuri Vips. After the regulation changes, Mercedes are once again back on top. They managed to secure their 5th Constructors' Championship in this simulation, but it's the Red Bull driver of Max Verstappen that wins the Drivers' Championship for the 2nd time this video. George Russell takes 7 wins and misses out on the Drivers' Championship by just 15 points. A strong season from Lando Norris with 3 wins helps Mercedes win the Constructors' Championship by over 220 points. Max Verstappen also won 7 races this season, but was helped by more consistent finishes as well as 2 more fastest laps. Lightning McQueen comes home in P4 with 3 wins and 6 fastest laps, with his teammate Alex Albon taking 2 wins and fastest laps for P5. Overall, this allows Rusty's to finish P2 in the championship for the second year running. Pierre Gasly beats his teammate Carlos Sainz in his first season in the Ferrari as they finished P6 and P7 as the team finished 4th behind Red Bull. No regulation changes coming into effect for the next season, however there were a couple driver moves. Kevin Magnussen was unfortunately dropped by Alfa Romeo even after finishing P10 in the standings. This means that Aston Martin driver Jehan Daruvala will take that seat. F2 driver Liam Lawson will take the available seat in the Aston Martin to make his debut in Formula 1. The championship standings were very similar moving into Season 8 due to the lack of regulation changes, with Mercedes winning their 6th Constructors' Championship. Max Verstappen also wins the Drivers' Championship again to take his 3rd in this simulation with a dominating display. 14 wins for the Dutch driver this season as well as 13 fastest laps. He beats Lightning McQueen by just over 100 points, who managed to win 3 races this season to take P2. George Russell also managed to secure 3 wins, but his Mercedes teammate Lando Norris beats him by 1 point for P3 by only winning 1 race. Alex Albon secures another win to get P5, and Rusty's have managed to close the gap to Mercedes by reducing the gap to only 50 points. Max Verstappen's strong season helped Red Bull to reach P3 in the Constructors, but the absence of Kevin Magnussen in the Alfa Romeo was severely felt as they finished last on 0 points. There were some slight regulation changes at the end of the season. Changes will be made to the powertrain and durability department. Once again, the reigning champion retires from F1, this time being Max Verstappen. This caused an incredible silly season of transfers. First of all, the Red Bull seat is taken by the former Red Bull driver and 4-time world champion in Sebastian Vettel. This meant Pierre Gasly returned to the French team of Alpine. Lando Norris moves from the Mercedes into the open Ferrari seat to reunite Carl Lando. Rusty's unfortunately lose Alex Albon to this open Mercedes seat. Liam Lawson is released from Aston Martin with the AlphaTauri driver of Theo Pourchaire making the switch. Yuri Vips moves from Alpine to the AlphaTauri with Lance Stroll leaving Aston Martin to join Alpine. The open Aston Martin seat is then taken by Felipe Drugovich, with his seat being taken by Jehan Daruvala. Christian Lundgaard makes his Formula 1 debut as he takes Daruvala's seat in the Alfa Romeo. Kevin Magnussen makes a return to Formula 1 in the McLaren by replacing Robert Schwartzman, and this only leaves 1 vacant seat left in Formula 1 at Rusty's Racing. Now, I had a plan for a special driver for the last season or 2. It had to be none other than Michael Schumacher.
There is a real Michael Schumacher.
Moving on then into Season 9, and signing Michael Schumacher had to be the best decision I've ever made. Rusty's managed to secure their first Constructors' Championship due to this absolutely dominating display from Schumacher, winning 21 out of a possible 22 races, setting the fastest lap in 14 of them. Lightning McQueen takes the other win as Rusty's managed to dominate both championships. Almost 1,000 points were scored by Rusty's as they beat the Mercedes by almost double what they scored. The rest of the fastest laps were shared between 5 drivers, including 2 for Russell and 1 for McQueen, Norris and Gasly. There's not much to say about this season. Schumacher absolutely just dominated it. But there was a driver retirement. The Ferrari driver of Carlos Sainz has decided to retire after Season 9, which allows Mick Schumacher to move into the Ferrari. This is obviously iconic due to his father's legacy. Robert Schwartzman returns to Formula 1 to fill in the vacant Williams seat. Once again, due to no regulation changes, Michael Schumacher just went on to dominate. He won 21 out of the 22 races, only managing to lose 1 due to an engine failure. But the one race that Schumacher's engine didn't work, McQueen took. So Rusty's managed to take 22 wins. Schumacher managed to take all 3 sprint wins as well as 19 fastest laps, McQueen taking 2. The other one was set by Schumacher, but that was in the race he didn't finish. Combined, Rusty's managed to secure their 2nd Constructors' Championship with 991 out of a possible 1,020 points. George Russell in P3 was consistently on the podium alongside both Rusty's drivers as Mercedes get P2 in the Constructors. Now this is the final season of the simulation, so there is no regulation changes and driver moves, but we will get on to looking at the final stats over the 10 years. Looking at the final number of wins and titles, Mercedes came out on top by securing 6 Constructors' Championships, winning 4 in a row between Season 2 and Season 5. Ferrari won 2 championships in Season 1 and Season 6, with Rusty's taking the final 2 seasons in Season 9 and 10. Looking at Drivers' Championships, there were 4 different winners over the course of the simulation, with Verstappen and Russell tied for the most with 3. Charles Leclerc and Michael Schumacher took the other 2 titles with 2 apiece. 8 different drivers managed to win races in Formula 1. Max Verstappen won the most races with 52. Russell was just 1 race behind with 51. Despite only being in the save for 2 seasons, Michael Schumacher managed to win 42 out of a possible 44 races. Charles Leclerc won 29 races, with Lando Norris behind with 19. The 7-time Piston Cup winner of Lightning McQueen managed to win 12 races within 10 years of F1, with Lewis Hamilton unfortunately not being able to continue his streak of winning it every season he took part, but he did secure 10 wins. By joining Rusty's, Alex Albon was able to make his first win, and also take 4 others to win 5 total races this simulation. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. We added Rusty's to Formula 1 and simulated 10 seasons. Now this took quite a while to edit and make, so if you could subscribe and drop a like, that would be greatly appreciated. My last video done absolutely insane. I think it's on like 700 views at the moment, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you for all the support on that. If this video gets anywhere near, I will be incredibly appreciative. But that will be the end. If you have any suggestions for what other teams I should add, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.